What's up, guys? Welcome to the Bro Tech Gaming Podcast. This is episode number 3. My name's Carlos.
What's up, guys? My name is Sean. Welcome back. We got a cool topic to go over today. It's kind of a controversial topic. We're going to be talking about consoles versus PC. Dun dun dun. So,
Yes. So,
uh, yeah. I was gonna say you and I, we both kind of have very, very similar experiences when it comes to like what consoles we grew up with. PCs. Like we said in the first episode 1, we talked about getting into PCs for the first time, which we're really just going to be talking about more or less the pros, the cons, PC consoles, what kind of experiences we have. So why don't you go ahead and start us off?
all right. So, my very first console that I had, I was about 7 years old, and then it was the Nintendo NES. And I feel like I only had like 2 games with it. It was like the Mario, like the original Mario, and then the Duck Hunt, that combo game. I had like the gun with it and everything, and I feel like I played the shit out of that game. Um, I think it was yesterday. I was trying to think back, like what other games I had for it, and I can't remember. Like I know I had other games, but they never like popped off like Mario did. I know I had that one for a couple years, and then I moved on to the Super Nintendo. Um, and then from the Super Nintendo, I would say I dang, what did I go into? I think I jumped into PlayStation. Oh no, Nintendo 64. So Nintendo 64 was the next one. I was on that one for a couple years, and then I made that jump to PlayStation. Um, I
What,
yeah,
what
because
would you say like with your experiences growing up? I mean, like because you had brothers growing up. You've got a big family. What was it more of like growing up like it was a shared experience with the consoles? Because I know like for me growing up, like having a console in your house was like a big deal. Like my cousin had a Super Nintendo in his house. Just like, dude, that's where I was like every weekend. I'm like, I'm gonna be at my cousin's house because he's got the Super Nintendo. So
uh,
what was it like for you growing up with a console?
for me, it wasn't that bad because my brother, like me and my brothers, have a big age gap. So by the time they grew up, they kind of had their own consoles. So we never really fought over consoles.
It was different for me, man. Like everyone in my cousin side of the family, like we're all within a year apart from each other. So like I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I had my older cousin that was like a year older than me, and I had a cousin that was 2 years younger than me. And then my two more cousins came from the Philippines, that were all in the same age group. So we were just like super competitive at the house all the time. Like we always fought over the freaking Super Nintendo, like playing Street Fighter and stuff. So
Yeah, Street Fighter was always a big deal at the house. Like, I only had my dad to play with, so like he beat my ass every time. And then I got really good, and then I started beating him, and then he didn't want to play anymore.
yeah. So I guess like where it was for me is it's kind of the same because you and I are pretty close to each other in age. I'm a few years older than you, but like I the first thing we had in our house was a Nintendo, like the OG Nintendo, and then I've pretty much had like every console like ever since. Like I think I skipped out on I never had a PS1. I never had the original Xbox. Um, but like besides those two, I've pretty much had like every console up until now, except for like the new Xbox Series X or S. But like my parents got me a Nintendo. It was funny because like they played the Nintendo more than I did. Like they had their games that they liked. Like it was basically just like you said, Duck Hunt, and then it was Mario,
Yeah.
and then we had Tetris. Like that was the mains. And then my dad bought Castlevania 2, which was called Simon's Quest, and like he played the crap out of that. And like I really feel like it was more for them than it was for me, because when they felt like I was getting too old for video games, they like gave my Nintendo away to my cousins in the Philippines, and I
Oh
never saw
man.
that ever again. So I'm like, what the hell, man? Like I was still playing those, And
Yeah.
um, it's funny because I feel like my parents, like they grew out of playing video games, and so they were just like, okay, well, we don't need this anymore. So like maybe they saw it as like a bad influence for me, even though like it's different for our generation. It's so integrated into our life now. But that's kind of how it started out for me too. It was basically just like starting with Nintendo, like all the way up until now. So I've had pretty much every single one of them. So
So, like growing up, from like all the consoles that you had, what do you think that you played the most? Like you put the most hours into?
man, it's kind of a toss up. So there's probably like out of all of the generations, there's like three that stand out the most. So it's probably like the Super Nintendo, um, the PS2, and I mean like the PS5 is. I mean, probably the PS4 to be honest. I mean, the PS5 still kind of new.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like the Super Nintendo and then the PS2 and then the PS4, they kind of represented like very different generations of my life, like growing phases. But as far as like the most, it's hard, man, because I think for me personally, I have more of a love and affection for the Super Nintendo. There's just so much more games on it that like I miss and nostalgia wise, that I feel like you'll never be able to replicate that experience. Everything from like PS2 and up, everything just kind of like a remaster now. So it's like you're always going to be playing the same games, but those retro games I feel like you'll never be able to like do again unless you're using an emulator. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
I
What
think
about you?
I think for me, I would say the Nintendo 64, just because the first one that I got was Mario 64, and I was just all day. Like you had Mario 64, you had GoldenEye, you had Banjo Kazooie, like all these like adventure games that you just played for hours at a time because you're trying to beat the game. And I felt like those games were so long back then, like like for a Nintendo 64. I mean, maybe I was just bad at the game, but it felt like it took me a couple months to beat the game. Like even for GoldenEye, because GoldenEye felt like there's different levels. You know, you have like the double O agent and stuff like that, and it's like you get hit a couple times and you're dead.
Yeah. Well, it's also like it was literally like maybe the last generation that didn't really have online gaming. Like when the first Xbox came out and then like even the PS2, like the PS2 had like a modem that you could like attach to it so you could play online. But like before that, like, you only had the one game and games were still expensive back then. They were still like $60, $70 back then. But like it's kind of like all you had to grind because like us as kids, we couldn't just go out and buy a game. So we wanted to get the most out of it. So like GoldenEye, like it wasn't just like, okay, well I beat the game. It's like, well no, now I got to go and like eat like each and every single like difficulty. I have to like do like every mission, every task. Like we didn't even have trophies back then, and we were still trying to like 100% like complete those games even though we didn't have any trophies for it.
Yeah, because with GoldenEye, it wasn't just beating the mission; you had to do it under a time period too. So it's
Yeah.
like you have to get those turns right, you got to get those shots off right, you got to reload right. It was crazy. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the Mile High Club on Call of Duty. Like with the
Yeah.
flashbangs, you got to get everything super precise.
Yeah. 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 And N64 is pretty nostalgic for me too, but I think that's where, because we were gaming at such a young age, I think that's where like that generational gap is, because I've talked to friends that are um like about like 40 and up, and they always refer back to the Nintendo to Super Nintendo. And for everyone that I talk to that's just like 40 and like below, it's like N64, GameCube, or like PS1. Like, so that I feel like it's cool because there was such a generational gap between there. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I feel like with us, I think we had the pleasure of playing like everything. We had it was all open to everything. You know, just depending on if you had money or not. I guess.
yeah, I feel like me personally, I don't want to say like I was super spoiled, but like, my cousins, we all had consoles and games all the time, and we were always just feeding off of each other, and I think that's where like the love for gaming was instilled in me. It was just my family growing up, because like that's all we had to compete against each other with, and we just enjoyed it so much. So
So speaking about buying your own consoles, what consoles do you currently own?
Uh, well, besides minus the ones that are like boxed up right now, the only ones that I have like out and ready to game with are, I got my PS5. I got my PS5 that's like tucked right behind my PC here. I guess you could call the PC like a console for me. Like I don't have the Xbox Series S or X, but I have Game Pass on my PC, so I feel like that's kind of the same thing. Um, and then we do have the Switch. Like I still consider the Switch like like a console, but like sort of honorable mention. It's not like they don't all compete in the same space. I feel like you need to take the Switch for what it is. Like as a handheld, it's really good. And I actually wanted to show you guys this. So Michelle bought me this for like dang.
Probably gotta put your hand
Here, I'll
behind
put it
it.
right here.
There
Yeah.
you
So
go.
she bought me this in the mail. It's called a Pow Kitty. It's I know the name sounds weird, but it's basically like this handheld emulator on Amazon for like 100 and some bucks. It looks like this.
Oh,
And it
okay.
has like little buttons in the back. But this will play like all the retro games from like PS1 and down. This thing has like 20,000 games on it.
What the hell?
And it's got GoldenEye on here. It's got Star Fox, Mario Kart. It has like every Super Nintendo game you can imagine. It's got Sega Genesis games on here. It's got some Dreamcast games on here. And it runs it like smooth. So right now, this is like my other console that I've been playing in the downtime.
Nice.
Uh,
That has joysticks on it too.
it's got joysticks on it too. Like it has like little joysticks.
Okay.
It's got like the all the buttons and stuff. You can hot map these because it's basically like a open source like emulator, like a PC. And then it's got like little shoulder buttons on there too. If you want to do like some shoulder button action. I was playing GoldenEye on this. It was crazy. So that currently, I guess that's what my consoles are right now. So
Okay. So
what
out
about
of
you?
out of those
What are your consoles?
consoles, well, out of your consoles, which one do you feel like you're on the most?
Uh, Man, I'd probably say it's kind of a split between my PS5 and my PC, just in general. I mean, as far as like the most goes, I'm probably gaming more on my PS5 currently than the PC, just because there are a bunch of new games that just came out. Like all the Steam sales and stuff came out, but I didn't like we talked about it on a different podcast that I didn't see a whole lot that I really wanted to buy, even though they were like super cheap and super discounted. So I think right now my PS5 might be going a little bit more usage out of my PC. Especially like Michelle, we've been playing Fortnite now, so it's just been easier to like party up with her on the PlayStation than it was on the PC because she's not really like super PC savvy just yet. So
All right.
PS5.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, my consoles, I have the Xbox One S, the last
Mhm.
generation console. I actually haven't turned that thing on in like 2 years, maybe.
Maybe like
It,
keep there.
it's just right now, it's just decor in the living room.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I have the PS5, I have and my PC and the Switch. But out of all of them, I feel like I'm on the PC more.
yeah.
Maybe right now at this moment, I'm on the PS5, grinding God of War. But I feel like once I'm done with God of War, I'm just gonna go right back to the PC, and the PS5 is just gonna sit there again
So you
until
probably say, I mean, besides like your PS5, you'd probably say your PC is more of like your baby right now, huh?
yeah, I feel like that.
Yeah, yeah. I can see that. I mean, you put a lot of money into it. We
Yeah,
both put a lot of money into our PCs at this point, so
yeah, definitely. And I actually feel like I have more range on the PC also because a lot of the games that come out on the PS5, they're on like Steam, they're on Game Pass, stuff like that. Like I don't have Game Pass because I'm still stuck on Apex right now,
yeah,
and I don't want to pay for it and not use it. But I feel like with the lack of games, like exclusive games on the PS5, that's why I really haven't touched it. Like I wasn't
yeah.
really into Spider-Man. Um, I can't really even think of any other games. Like maybe like was it like Demon Souls, but that game was really hard, and I gave up like maybe like
Yeah.
3 hours into it.
But then I guess that can kind of like go into like our next topic. Like when we talk about comparing them, if we're truly comparing like PC versus console, and you're always gonna have like those fanboys that are like one versus the other. Like I've never considered myself a fanboy. Like I like all of them for what they offer.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, obviously, like the landscape's changed a lot. Like especially today, like I feel like consoles are so much more advanced. Um, Before this generation, I felt like consoles were just like so far behind PC, and like that was always the PC master race. It's like, oh, like it'll always be better than a console because of what you can put into it. But it's different now because you can't really build a PC that's budget friendly that's like a console killer. You know, like the consoles output like really good performance for the price now. So what would you say would be like, some pro cons, whether it be like the like PC or like console, like one versus the other?
Well, I guess for PC, the pros is you can always upgrade it. You can always make it faster. You can always change stuff out. The cons for that is it's expensive. You know, like a GPU costs the same price as a console, the whole console by itself. So you really got to be cautious about how much you want to spend on one part of your PC, because yeah, like that one part's going to be better, but then if you pair it with something that's a little bit lower in price range or like output, you're going to throttle somewhere, and you're not going to get any upgrade on it. I would say I guess for PlayStation, because I feel like PlayStation 5 right now is the only one that's actually like upgradable as far as the SSD. You can improve the storage on it. And I know they're coming out with like, yeah, there you go. I know they're coming out with like upgrades and stuff on it to where like the output is higher now. You get more FPS, you get higher resolution, and that's pretty good because a lot of PCs now, like you look at low budget PCs, they're only hitting 1080p 60 frames per second, and now with the PS5 you're at 1440. I think even like 4K at 30 frames per second, or
Yeah,
60 frames per second.
I think the most base level like GPU now, like uh, like you can still hit like 720, but like nobody wants to play in 720. So I think at minimum, like just doing like a 1080p, like 1080p 60 is really what you want for PC. And like the most like bare bones, it's crazy how like the quality level shifts in GPUs. I think they're saying like a Nvidia like 1050 or like an RX like 560 would be like the most baseline that you should even consider starting with now. And it's crazy to think that like, 5 years ago, those were like more mid tier, like they were like mid level, and now they're like the base level. So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
yeah.
So I mean, like in your opinion, like comparing, say, like Xbox One X and the PS5, I mean, which one do you think would be more of a more desirable console?
Well, I mean, as far as the performance goes, they're pretty much the same. I mean, like there's a few like differences in terms of like how they scale. I mean, like I know that Xbox has more like 1440 support at higher refresh rates. Like PlayStation just implemented that like several months ago. But as far as like the games themselves, like it kind of goes to PlayStation because PlayStation has way more exclusives. Like they're really more geared toward like the gamer, like the gaming enthusiast. I mean, you can play competitive games on it. It's got great story-driven games on it. Like they look amazing. They've got the to me they've got really good developers on there. And I mean, like there was just never anything recently on the Xbox that I really cared about. Like I played Halo, the Halo Infinite. It didn't really like keep me interested. I don't think I played a Gears of War since 3, and maybe Forza is like the only other recent like exclusive Xbox has that I do play every now and then. Like it's a gorgeous game, but it's just sort of like just for fun. Like it's nothing that I want to like grind and put a lot of time into. So for me, definitely the PlayStation 5 is sort of where it's at for the type of games that I want to play. So
Yeah, I would agree with that because I feel like I'm more partial to the exclusivity of the games. Um, with the Xbox, I feel like, well, I mean, you can play every game on Xbox on the PC, and honestly, if you have better hardware, it's gonna look better than the Xbox. Um, for the PS5, like it's hardwired just for the PS5, so you still have that PS5 experience. Um, depending on your setup, I have mine set up to the TV now because I'm not playing competitive on it. And it still looks really good. I have it hooked up to the 65 inch in the room, and it's 4K, and I think it's hitting like 30 frames per second. But I mean, that's what the TV is capped out at for 4K, and it still looks really good.
And I think that's kind of a good point to make. Like, if we're talking about like some pros and cons, to me, like the nicest pro when it comes to a console versus PC is just like ease of use. You know, like you open it, you plug it in, and you turn it on, and that's it. Like it's good to go. You don't have to tweak anything. You don't have to mess with like settings and resolutions and stuff. Like they kind of like cater to like I guess you could say like to more of a casual experience, even though like the games are really good. But you know, it has good technology that people don't really have to worry about. You know, like they come out with their own updates for things like quality of life things that you don't have to like go into your settings and tweak. Like versus like if it's PC, every time like a game or something updates on the PC, like you have to go back into the settings and you got to change this, you got to change that, you got to turn off these features and turn on these features. So that's not very like desirable for somebody that just wants to game. And I think that's one of the best things about a console is just the ease of use for it. So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
mm.
So we'll kind of switch over to the Switch, and how
I
do
love
you
my
feel about the Switch, and who do you feel like the Switch is really targeted for? Like, what kind of audience is it targeted for?
So we kind of talked about this, but I think that it's really like the ultimate casual. I mean, there are like there's competitive games on it, I guess. Like I play Fortnite on the Switch when I'm just like chilling in bed. I think that's cool. I tried playing Apex on it. I can't do it. It's really choppy. Um, but it's really just for, you know, somebody that just wants to just relax, sit on the couch, you know, just have something in your hand to play. There's just something very relaxing and convenient about that. It definitely has a use case, but you know, it's definitely not for anybody that's looking for competitive gaming. You know, it does have some okay, like some cool exclusives on there. You know, like visually, they're not the most high tech, but the quality of the game is still good. When you think about games like the Metroids and the Legend of Zeldas and the Mario games, like they're all really fun. They're all really enjoyable games. You don't have to be like as invested in it, or you know, they're not like really intense, like edge of your seat kind of games that you would play on like more of the mainstream consoles. So it still kind of holds like you know it's still up there for me as far as like the quality of a gaming console, but it's mostly because it's handheld too. If the Switch wasn't a handheld device, I just don't think it would be as enticing for people.
All
You got a
right.
Switch?
Yeah, I have a Switch. I don't feel like I have a good experiences with the Switch.
Yeah, you just
It,
haven't found that one game yet.
Well, I'm playing Pokemon, the Arceus, and I mean it keeps me entertained for when I need to be, because you know, like at break or lunch at work, I'll play it, or you know, if I'm chilling in bed, you know, I'll play it. But I don't feel like I'm getting like a full like package out of it, because the graphics still look like Nintendo 64. There's no talking in the games. There's like no voice lines. Like it feels like it's just very bare bones.
Word bubbles.
Yeah, or I know you played Animal Crossing, or Michelle played Animal Crossing, and it's
Yeah,
just like, and it's like listening to that for like 10 hours or how long you play it, you know, like by that time I'm just muting the game. And
yeah. It's fun for the wifeys. So like Michelle loves her. She's got Kirby right now. Like she's been grinding Kirby, and it's funny to go into like the quality of that game. Just like even with the difficulty of the game, while at the same time I was playing like Elden Ring and like Demon Souls, which are like super hard. So like she'd be stuck on a boss on Kirby and she'd be like, "Babe, like I can't beat this boss. Help me." And then like I'll just grab it from her, not knowing anything about the game at all, and just like beating the boss for her and just like handing it back. Like, "Okay, here you go." And then I turn around and get my ass kicked on like Demon Souls or Elden Ring. So yeah, it's got that, you know, it's the casual, it's the super casual handheld gaming device. So
yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like the Switch is more aimed towards kids, but
yeah.
I just see adults playing it. And
It's got good value too because you can still use it for those retro games and you can still use it. I mean, I don't know if anyone's jailbroken a Switch before, but I'm pretty sure people have made it into emulators, just figuring out how to jailbreak one. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, I honestly think the Switch is also good for like little parties, like little get-togethers, because they do have multiplayer games,
yeah,
like Just Dance, or like the Carnival, Mario Party, Mario Kart. Like those games are always fun with, I think it goes up to like 4 players, and it's always a good time.
yeah, they're definitely like the best when it comes to party games, I think. Just because like honestly their party games are really good. Like if you've played any of the Mario Party games or just Mario Kart, like they're always fun to play with people. So yeah, it has its use case. I actually have one more console that I forgot to mention that I own. Um, I'll be right back. This was supposed to be for my birthday.
Oh, the Oculus.
Yeah, Michelle got me the VR, the Oculus VR 2. So I guess that's another technically console that I own, which it's still really fun, but it's to me it's kind of in the same category as the Switch. It's more of like a niche group of people, and it's fun. Um, but it's nothing I could use like very very consistently. Like honestly, I can only play it for like an hour at a time. But the games I played are still pretty fun. So
All right. What kind of games are there? I know there's like that block game. Was it the Saber?
yeah, Beat Saber, which is just your typical like rhythm and like hit things game. You know, if you've ever played like Guitar Hero or what like Beat Mania, the Dance Dance Revolution, stuff like that. It's all those like rhythm timing type games. So that's actually really fun. What's surprising is there's a lot of games on it. It's just they're not the best quality games, so you have to be sort of you got to be careful with what you buy. They do have return policies on games if you actually don't like it, so that's kind of a cool thing that they don't really do anywhere else. You can try it for like a week and you can actually get your money back if you don't like it. Um, but what I really like about it, which was a surprise, is how like active you actually are when you play it. Because I bought like a boxing game, and it's just like super like basic. Like the graphics are probably like on like almost like GameCube level of graphics quality. But it's a boxing game and the physics are pretty realistic. Like you actually get gassed. Like I get tired and like I was playing it downstairs one day and like I was like breathing so freaking heavy and like I can hear Michelle like laughing in the background and just like audibly just like laughing out loud. And she's like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you so tired?" And I'm like, "You have no idea how hard this game is. Like, I cannot beat this guy right now." So I was actually getting a pretty good workout out of it, which is kind of cool because you can't get that on any other game that you buy. So
All
um,
right. Has she tried it out?
yeah, she's tried it. She's played. She's getting pretty good at the Beat Saber. But she gets kind of she has vertigo, so like whenever she
Mm,
moves too fast, like she gets really dizzy really fast. So some of the games are a little disorienting if you're not used to like that 3D space, so to speak. Um, which like I've never had an issue with it, but for some people it's if they're really sensitive to like motion, like if they get motion sick pretty easily. I'd probably say it's not really the best for them, but some games are more intensive than others. So,
all right. Yeah, I kind of forgot all about the Oculus. I know my brother has one. He said he doesn't play it anymore.
yeah,
I had tried out the Jurassic Park game on it, and it was pretty cool. It was fun for the time that I played it, but I mean
yeah,
he already has it in a drawer somewhere collecting dust. So
yeah. Like there's definitely some cool things I want to try with it. Like I can plug it into my Steam, and if you've bought games on Steam that are also VR compatible, you can actually play those. Like Phasmophobia, like we played Phasmophobia,
yeah, I was just
and
thinking about that one.
yeah, that actually has like a VR patch in it, and I was using it, and I'm just like, no, this is creepy. So I just like, I just like took it off and just turned off the game. Because even though like graphically it's not like photorealistic, but
It's
you're
just the
still moving
audio.
around. Yeah, you're still moving in like a 3D space. You're still like looking and turning and like doing all that. So, like you turn around and there's just like a thing like right there. Like it still gets you. The jump scares are still good.
That
So
sounds like fun. I actually want to try that out now.
I want to try for Resident Evil. Resident Evil has a VR patch for it too, so I want to do that. So
Okay. Which Resident Evil is that?
Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 7 both have a VR capable mode. And then they just released Resident Evil 4 on it that's completely like reworked for VR. So I don't know, I kind of want to check it out. Those are kind of cool. Zombie games are fun always.
Yeah, always.
Mr. Elite Zombie.
Hey, thanks for the shout out.
um so like, we've been talking about consoles a lot, but we haven't really talked too much about like PC. You know, when it comes to like obviously we talked about like the upgradability, like PC definitely has it beat when it comes to like being able to upgrade stuff. Uh, Otherwise, all you can really do on a console is just like upgrade this storage space. Like you can't really do much to it other than upgrading storage space. But wouldn't you kind of say that like the upgradability on PC is really cool and really fun, but at the same time, it's like a never-ending battle of trying to get like that performance value out of your PC.
Yeah, I would say definitely yes. Just
Yeah.
because it's been hard the last couple of years because of like scalpers and the what do you call it, the crypto mining craze.
Yep.
So it's been super hard to get a new GPU. Like usually you would want to upgrade your GPU every series, or even kind of like your phone, you want to do it like every other series that comes out, because if you jump from one to the next, you're not really going to see that big of a performance, even though they always what do you call it, they always say that it's always going to be like 80% like upgrade.
Yeah.
But I feel like it always depends on your monitor also. Like if your monitor caps out at 165 frames and your GPU is pushing out 400 frames, you're not going to see them. You're just you pretty much wasted all that money for nothing, unless you really get like a 4K like 240 hertz monitor. Then your GPU is gonna stress pushing out all those frames, and you're actually gonna see the difference.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that like wanted to get into the PC gaming space now? Like where should they start? Like do you think they should immediately go for like the high end? Do you think they should start like more budget and start low and think about like an upgrade path from there? Because I kind of see it like from both ways.
Yeah, so do I. And I feel like it just depends on how much money they have, how much
Yeah.
they have spent, how much their budget is. The higher the budget, the more mid to upper tier you can go. The more like you just want a game now and worry about upgrading later, then obviously you're gonna go like to mid to low. You're gonna want to spend your money mostly on the GPU and the CPU, and then everything else can be more low budget. Like the fans, the RAM,
Yeah.
you get like a box CPU cooler, something that's not the AIO. Like you get like a budget case, and then from there you can it's kind of like what I did. Like I kind of went like mid to low, and now that I'm able to upgrade, I'm kind of upgrading it slowly by slowly, just the small things.
It's kind of like a modder's dream when it comes to like PC because there's so much you can do. Like you can have two people that like specs wise, performance wise is pretty much the same, but they're so like vastly different from one another. You've got all these different types of cases, all these different types of peripherals and like style that you can add to it. Like it's crazy how much you can do with a PC, just aside from the performance too. But in your opinion, like even with the budget, with the budget where it is, like I feel like now is like a really, really good time to build a budget PC because everything's gotten better. But versus like say buying a PS5 for like, $500, or is it three ninety nine and 499? It's
It's
four ninety nine,
500,
right?
yeah.
500. So or even like honestly like the Series S, like the Series S was like as low as 250, and like say what you want, that thing was actually kind of like a beast for the price, like $250, and you can play basically like all the modern games at 1080p 60, some games even at 1440. which include like some of the competitive games. Like I think it had a patch that you could actually play like Warzone at 120 frames per second on like the Series S. That's only $250. So where would you say, like what would you say like the winner would be if you're talking about like a price to performance, like for whatever the price is, like whatever the budget is, like, what do you think like one is better than the other?
Well, yeah, one's always going to be better than the other, but it just comes down to that price. Like, I feel like for the console people, you spend $250 on an Xbox, you're not going to have to worry about overclocking it, undervolting it, messing with any specs, doing benchmarks, making sure it doesn't crash. Um, and usually the crashing is it's either the game or something's wrong with the system with the say like an Xbox. You have warranty. Once it starts messing up, you just send it back, get another one, and you're good to go. With the PC, there's a lot of troubleshooting involved, like a lot. Like I feel like with the PC you have to have a lot of patience because there's so many factors of something going wrong, something not like matching up with you know what I mean. Like it's just the troubleshooting part of it. And yeah, I feel like if you don't have patience and you just want to game and not worry about anything, then yeah, the console is the way to go. But if you want to have like a better experience and be able to do more, like on our PCs we have the streaming, we have our Discord. Like right now we're on video on Discord. We have a lot of like our library of games. You have Steam, you have like everything on there. So that's my point of view on it. It's like if you only want to spend $250 $500 and be done, not have to worry about upgrading, then yeah, the console is the way to go. If you have patience and you like customizing and doing stuff like that, then yeah, of course the PC is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like on the fence for both. I mean, like it's crazy. Like $250 for a console that basically like performs at the same level as say like a $600 PC now. I mean, like what $250, like what can I build for $250 in the PC space that will perform the same as like 1080p 60 FPS? Like you can't do it. It's impossible now. And I think there's always that out, like right now, especially. I think right now, like consoles kind of have PCs beat for that price to performance. I just don't think there's any way getting around it. Now, obviously, yeah, you don't get as many bells and whistles with a console as you do a PC because pretty much everything a console can do, a PC can do. It just comes down to like the tweaking of it. The most like bare bones, inexpensive PC is essentially going to run into the same problems as like the most like high end like ultra expensive PC because it all runs off the same software. So you got to be willing to troubleshoot. You got to be willing to have some kind of understanding on how to fix some of those errors that pop up. So I totally get that.
Yeah, like even I still get errors on my PC, like my Apex on the what do you call it, the
Sure.
yeah, on the launcher. It had like some volume error on it, and I for the life of me I couldn't fix it. I had to delete it and get it on Steam. So I
Yeah.
mean, there's always going to be issues on there that you can't fix, or you have to do a lot of research on how to fix it. And a lot of the time, people leave reviews on how to fix it, and it fix it for them, but not for you. So, and that has to do with a different PC, different parts, different software. It all matters. It all depends on that.
I've made a lot of visits to Reddit, for, which is dangerous. Like it's dangerous to go on Reddit. Like the people are just so toxic on there. But
Yeah, they
like
are.
so many troubleshooting problems, man. And like you don't need to do that on console. Like it kind of just fixes itself on console. You know, unless
Yeah.
you completely like brick your PlayStation, you're never gonna run into the same issues on console that you do on PC. So
Yeah, and I agree with you on the Reddit thing. Like Reddit has the most toxic, but the most smartest people on there. So it's kind of a like a double edged sword going on there. Because you're gonna get roasted for whatever you say, but then that last comment is gonna tell you exactly what you need to know.
what happened? You got your 3700X for the first time, and then you were on Reddit, and then like you didn't you make a comment on there, and they're like, hey, like like what kind of settings or whatever blah 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 do I need to use for my 3700X for gaming, and then some guy was just like, no, return it, it's too much CPU.
Oh no,
He
no,
goes,
that was from my motherboard. So I got the
oh
570, and then they told me to get the 550 because it's the same thing for less
yeah.
money, and I was like, no, I already bought it. Like, and they're like, no, return it now, and I was like, okay, like
Really?
okay, sorry, I spent my money and not yours, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's I don't know, man. Like I love everything about PC gaming now. It's just fun. I love all the new stuff that comes out, but I'm kind of just it's kind of a weird phase because people that want to build for the first time, they're kind of like at this weird crossroad of like, well, I can definitely build budget, but there's no like upgrade path anymore because they've switched to like a new platform now. So like, do I hop on like the newest, like the latest and greatest hardware, or do I just try to build something budget and just have sort of like that upgrade like blockage as soon as I build my PC? So
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of research because you do want to have that upgrade path, so you don't
Mhm.
want to say like you don't want to get like a motherboard that's gonna like hold you back later. Because if you do get like a lower end motherboard and then you want to get like higher specs for like a GPU and CPU, and then like it doesn't work with it, or it's like it's holding it back from, you know, the performance and stuff like that. So it's just a lot of research on it.
Yeah. What would you say to those like PC master race people that kind of like hate on consoles, that feel like you should just get a PC instead of buying a console? Because I feel like there's a lot of opinions about that in the PC space.
I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to say anything because I have both, and I love both of them equally. Even though I play more of one than the other, I still respect them. You know, there's still people that come out with like nice setups. They still come out with you know, streams on it, and it still looks really well. um I don't know. I would just say like to each their own. You know, if you have the money, then do it. If you don't, then you know, don't do it.
Yeah, the haters like bother me when it comes to that because it's just like, just use what makes you happy. Like I've never hated on Xbox. I've never hated on PlayStation. It's just like I've always had like one or the other, or I've used both. Like if it makes you happy, then like why hate on somebody that has something different than you? Um, and like another thing too is with the new consoles now, they actually share the same hardware as in Radeon graphics cards. Like they use Ryzen processors now. They have like RDNA 2 architecture from like the same graphics cards that AMD has out. So like honestly, they're like consoles now are more PCs today than they were several years ago. Like they literally use the same hardware. So for people that are hating on it, I'm just like, why? Like, why are you hating on people that can like get into gaming now for less than it used to cost? So
Yeah, because I mean, technically speaking, consoles are just like mini PCs, just
yeah,
not upgradable.
they're just not like an open source, like all the
Yeah,
software is like hard coded into it already. So
yeah.
yeah,
All right, so I think with that, we'll wrap up this podcast.
yeah,
We will be editing this for YouTube, so the stream will be up later. Do some edits on it. For
raw footage,
Spotify,
guys. Raw footage.
yeah, raw footage, uncut. I'm gonna add some visuals on there and kind of go along with what we're talking about, so you can check us out. Throw a link on there. But yeah. So my name's Carlos. Thank you for watching / listening to the Bro Tech podcast, gaming podcast. My bad. Or hold on, let me do that over.
Do that again. Peace
so
out, Carlos.
so my name's Carlos. Thank you guys for listening / watching the Bro Gaming podcast. No, fuck. All right, I got this.
You can do it. You can do it. You want me to take it away?
Yeah, you could do it.
All right. All right, guys. So thanks for joining us. My name's Sean. Thank you for tuning in and watching the BroTech Gaming podcast.
And my name's Carlos. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace
See
out.
ya. Peace.
All right. I don't know why I was fucking having a stroke at the end.
Watching yourself on camera, like I'm famous now.
Nah, I was trying to. So I put your video like right underneath my camera, so it kind of looks like I'm looking at the camera.
Yeah, I have you like side by side, so I'm actually like looking at you while we're talking instead of like looking at the camera because like I don't know if I should be always looking at the camera or like looking at an angle. I kind of like looking at an angle better than being facing the camera. So
Yeah. Well, I do it towards the camera, so it's kind of like you're looking at the people watching. There you go. Okay, so I'm gonna end this recording.